I just want to change the order of or the agenda of the committee, because obviously in the absence of the Mayor who's put his apologies in, if anyone's got any questions about that, we'll allow you to answer questions on that. There's been 6 public questions received in advance of the committee. These will be answered in line with the public participation policy. I just want to remind members that meetings are now recorded. All the meetings will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Okay. This is the first meeting of the TBCA that is being recorded. We'll move straight onto the agenda. Apologies for absence.
Councillor Steve Nelson, Councillor Blue Knight, Councillor Joy is attending on his behalf, Councillor Hanaway and the Mayor.
Thank you, and more. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Do we have any? Thank you. To approve the minutes of the last meeting on the 15th of January 2025, Councillor Creevy.
Yeah, you are.
Is that right? Yeah. Is this the appropriate time to raise an amendment or question?
For the minutes.
On the minutes, yeah. So on the bit where it said members raised a query regarding the Tees Valley review, it's on page 3 of the pack. That wasn't the question. So I've checked a recording, and I actually said I didn't want to understand if the Mayor would welcome the NAO and if the Mayor was happy with the authority's response to the recommendation. I actually just asked, in 2023 you said you'd welcome an NAO investigation into Tees Works, given the limited scope of the review, the continuing losses reported of the airport and the continuing concern about the way public money and public assets are being distributed, would you welcome a further and wider investigation by the NAO? I didn't ask if he was happy with the response. Also, I've checked the recording of his response, and he did not thank officers. He didn't say he was happy with the response, and he didn't thank members and officers either.
Can I come in there? If I recall, I actually asked the question if he was happy with the response, the officer's response.
Right.
I think what's happened there is possibly there's 2 questions being mixed up with one answer.
Right.
I certainly asked him if and I pressed him on it a couple of times, if he was happy with the response of the authority, and he confirmed that he was eventually, and he did thank the officers for their work.
Okay.
That's just in my question, but that was a later question, much later than yours.
I don't think it reflects my question, to be honest. I'm happy to give you a copy of my actual question, because I've listened to the recording and taken it verbatim.
Okay. Okay, we'll get that amended.
Thanks, Chair. It's just about, I didn't know these meetings were being recorded until today, unless members are recording them for their own purposes. And what does the Constitution say about recording a meeting when other people aren't aware of that? If I could ask that question, please.
Public meeting. So it's a public meeting. So from a legislative position, we are entitled to record. I think an email went out yesterday, so sorry if you haven't received that.
I'm aware of that. It's the
oh, sorry. I believe. Yeah, sorry. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Creevy. I believe they're recorded by the public, which they're entitled to do so. So it's a public meeting. The public are entitled to record, and they are entitled to deal with that recording as they wish. Okay.
If I could just ask further, then, if the public are recording, does it mean members of the public over here? And if so, is that where's that recording shared?
In terms of our recording, or in terms of the public recording?
The public recordings from the last meeting, where they were shared?
It's entirely up to the public what they do with that recording.
Okay, thank you.
So we have developed a policy around our recording.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. What we will do is, my proposal is to take to A&G a level. The public is entitled to record, and we have to acknowledge that and respect that. We can put some guidance around that, which I'm intending to take to audit and governance for them to have a look at and approve, in terms of providing a level of reassurance to others attending the meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with public recording. If it's to comment my recording, that's where I was picked up from.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't say my recording, I said I've listened to the recording. I didn't say my recording, I said I've listened to the recording.
Oh, sorry. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Councillor Dean?
Just Chair, my understanding is that if a private member of the public is going to record a meeting, they should inform the chair of that, so the chair can inform members.
No.
Yeah, so there is no requirement. We do ask the public to let us know if they are going to record, but there is no requirement for the public to tell us if they're recording.
I think that's the case of all council committees. I think you can go all your councils and that's exactly the case. Which is why we changed in Middlesbrough a few years ago because of that.
Well, the thing of that is, a few years ago, committees in Darlington were recorded as an experimental thing, and it saddens me that it's taken about 8 years for it to become more prevalent that committee meetings are recorded. The very first mayor, 2008, very first mayor ever, mayor making ever recorded, put on social media.
It was.
Famous quite.
Okay, other than that, can we agree the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. A second. Thank you. We'll move on to the Tees Valley Review of Education, Employment and Skills. So it hasn't quite finished, but I think we'll move it on to Rachel. Thank you.
Yeah, hiya. We've had a few difficulties with getting people together, I think, it's probably fair to say. So we agreed at the last meeting that was in Quora, if you remember, Lynn, that we would do a bit of a virtual deep dive, really. We've had the first responses from that questionnaire that we agreed to send out, which we kind of did, we agreed via email. We've had the first responses, and really we just need to arrange to get together now and continue that. It's just delayed slightly.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Chair. Could I just say that, and I know you were a member of that subcommittee, I was really disappointed that it was in Quora with only the Chair and I attending, because it really is a very important issue that we make sure that our young people are prepared in a way to fit into the new workforce that's being created in the Tees Valley. And it is urgent because we're picking up things as we go through. I mean, only this week I discovered that there are 8 welding apprentices that finished this week and only 2 are being kept on. And it's partly through the National Insurance tax on jobs, but that's the next stage to where we're at. And I'm very, very concerned that we're not turning up as scrutiny members to scrutinise this really important part of the Tees Valley function. I visited, and it was all on Teams, it's not too onerous in many ways. You've just got to be available at that time. And I visited a special needs seminar, and it was a seminar, but it was disseminating information meeting, looking at how our special needs schools and establishments are supported by the Tees Valley and getting work experience for their young people. And I was well impressed. I was really pleased with the initiative that's going on. It's a very small initiative, but it needs scaling up in my opinion. And I really feel that we as a group need to be aware of such things happening. It's a group of children that are often forgotten in special needs education. And many of our businesses in the Tees Valley, I'm going to mention just one, Hobbycraft, are doing a great deal to provide work experience for these young people. And I think it's really, really important that we as a committee engage fully and support our chair and get this work done. Thank you.
No, I totally accept what you're saying. Sadly, there's quite a few committee members have other commitments. Some of us work and some of us have other committees that we have to attend. And it's just the way it is, sadly. We are spread too thinly, I think, and I accept that. As far as special needs, my wife works in a special needs school, so I totally appreciate what you're saying.
Yes, come in, Chair. I'm not sure what, is that on? That better?
Yeah.
It was just a flag that we are about to embark on a piece of work about setting out our future approach to skills in terms of how we plan on a longer term basis, aligned to potentially longer term funding settlements. So I think it's really important that this subgroup's work is completed and informs and can help shape that work. So I'm just thinking around timing, just making sure that we give the committee the opportunity to complete their work and make sure that's fed into this bigger piece of work we're doing across the Command Authority probably over the next 6 months.
Councillor Leslie?
Yeah, I mean, my apologies for not...
Use the microphone.
Sorry, my apologies for not attending some of the meetings, but I was rather unwell. But I did, after the last meeting I spoke to where we had the TBC careers course, I did actually meet with a head teacher from a secondary school and from a primary school, and I spoke to the principal at the college. And the two senior ones were happy and content with the work that Tees Valley Combined Authority was doing in conjunction with them, attending the schools. But both of them said they felt there was room for improvement, but they were working on that with the Tees Valley people anyway, so it was very positive feedback. The primary school was a different thing because we're talking to teachers who teach young people with no particular aspirations apart from doing what the dad does or what the man does. But the head of the school I went to thought it would be useful for somebody to come into the primary school to sow the seeds, so to speak, in her words, for younger people to look. And I think, oh, that sounds really good. However, I have a belief that children should be children and left alone until they're old enough to make decisions. But
can I interject?
Very positive feedback.
Yeah, TBCA only the remit is adult education. It's not children's
I know
education.
that, but the conversation come up through the meeting I was having in the primary school, and I spoke to her about it. And the teacher was pretty positive about what could happen. It doesn't have to be at the level for older children, but some, I don't know, maybe an hour of future prospects and things. But they were positive about 2 years.
Come to you.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Can I just come back on that? Have I turned off? No, I'm still on. I think one of the things that the school that I'm chair of governors at, which is a primary school in Hartlepool, does a lot of work with the young people on raising aspirations because it's in quite a deprived area. So I think it is quite important to kind of get in early with children. I know we want to allow them to be children, but also it's good to raise aspirations and give them enough indication of what work might look like in the future for them.
Could I just add, the discussion, that small discussion we've had today, really emphasises how important it is to be face to face, because it does create discussion. I totally disagree. I think children of all age should have an opinion and be encouraged to have that opinion and discuss it. I've got a primary school that are currently creating a campaign to get a crossing lady at their school at the moment because the council won't listen, and hopefully they'll listen to the children, because we need to listen to what our young people are saying, and we're very often not. So that's my view on it. Children of any age have to be given that aspiration, always. You can do what you want, when you want. It doesn't matter about gender, it doesn't matter about anything. A child has to be given that feeling of aspiration. Thanks, Chair.
Through you, Chair, children should be taught to read, write and count before they're given 12 other subjects to throw at them. If they can read, write and count, they get easier access to the other subjects. But I agree with you, I have no problem with kids and children having an opinion on that. I just think government's expectations of what they should be achieving by the time they're 11 are not what children are. Children will ask the questions. Some of the hardest questioning sessions I've had through 30-year career in local government are from children, and I'd sooner face 200 angry allotments than allotment holders than 20 10-year-olds. No inhibitions.
Thank you. I think we are moving away from the subject. So can we agree to hopefully the committee will come back with a response by the first meeting in the municipal year? Is that
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move on then, thank you, and we'll move on to the final report of the Overview Scrutiny Transport Subcommittee. I'll pass you over there, Councillor Branson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, you should have a copy of the summary and the final report, in fact. We had our first meetings in July and a number of meetings throughout the period since then, as detailed. We met the operators of the Northern Rail, Stagecoach, one of the two main bus operators, as well as talking to the chair of the Transport Committee. We put forward our main concern when we were setting up the committee was to look at a number of areas. We wanted to look at improving links between rail and bus services. We had done a piece of work, you'll remember previously, on bus service. This is wider in focus. We're not looking just at buses, we're looking at the interrelationship between buses and rail services. We're trying to make sure that there is an effective service which ties the two together, and that includes the aspects of ticketing as well as it does timetabling. We wanted to make sure also that at the stations that there was adequate parking facilities, adequate bike storage facilities, because we're trying to encourage not only people getting there by bus, but also getting there by bike as an alternative method of transport. So we had a look at, with a number, as I say, we talked to a number of witnesses, and we've come up with a series of recommendations which you'll have detailed there below. First of all, in respect of alignment of bus and rail services, then we have recommended that TVCA transport officers conduct a review looking at the following. First of all, looking at the physical assets, and we need to look at all of the railway stations, bus interchange stations, to see to what extent they provide for connectivity with between bus and rail, provision of car parking, and also access for people using cycles. And we also want to look at the onward bus connectivity from rail stations. In other words, when you arrive by train, is there a bus that you're able to catch within a reasonable period of time when you get off that train? Otherwise, you're not going to use that method of transport. And we need, in that respect, to look at alignment of timetabling and also the reliability of timetables, so that we know how we can get from A to B using different modes of transport. We want to specifically look at real-time passenger information. We looked at this in our previous report because it's relevant to buses, but it's relevant to buses and trains. Trains do this better, of course. You usually have a better indication of when a train is arriving, how long it's going to be before it arrives, but we need to provide that kind of information, not just in respect of trains, but in respect of buses too. If I get off a train, is that bus going to be there waiting for me, or am I going to have to wait half an hour before that bus arrives? And we need to see whether we can enhance integration between train and buses, so that you get, to a much greater extent, a seamless system, and not one that is totally disconnected. Linking into that, we looked at, the second recommendation was about ticketing integration. This is a very important issue. We need to make sure that the rail and bus operators work together to provide an integrated ticketing system. Ideally, the tap-on, tap-off system that we now see operating in places like London, for example, where you can use a debit card in order to get onto one means of transport, and when you get off the transport at the other end, then you will get that deducted from your bank account. That's not an easy thing to institute, given the fact that we have a division between road and rail provision, but it's something that certainly we need to be looking at. And so we've asked for a timeline to introduce this to Tees Valley, and we need to review existing provisions and viability of services, and look at the ongoing trials in both in other areas that are similar to ours, in order to see how feasible and how quickly we can introduce an integrated transport ticketing system. And we need to have a plan produced within 12 months. The third recommendation is looking at planning consideration. The importance of ensuring when new estates are built that we build the transport system to there, instead of expecting it to be provided later on. Therefore, we need to have early engagement with bus operators and rails, with the rail infrastructure organisations and train operators, plus Active Travel England, to ensure that all of these are involved in the development of new housing and new business areas, so that you've got those services provided and you're not putting them on as an add-on later on. As soon as possible, we need to act in this area, and we need to put these recommendations through to the Cabinet to have a look at what they can do in order to further this. And with that, I'd ask Alan, is there anything that you want to add on that? Please do. Yep.
Thanks, Councillor President. No, I think that's a really neat summary. I think the only addition I would say in relation to the ticketing, as we talked about in the committee, is that there is obviously a lot of government focus on this at the moment, and that's why it's a plan to look at how we can interrelate with what government are planning to do to take that forward, because it's a significant amount of investment to bring in tap on, tap off, and it is something they are looking at across the whole of the country. It's a key part of Great British Railways agenda moving forward, so that's why it's kind of I think we concluded in discussion that it's about kind of working through with stakeholders rather than necessarily delivering that ourselves in a very complex environment at the moment around ticketing.
Yeah. So Chair, that's basically it. If there's any questions anybody wants to ask, then I'll take them.
Well, I'm sure we've all read the report. Has anybody got any questions on the final report?
Yes.
Am I on? No, I'm not on. Hi, I'm Gemma. I'm subbing for Glen Nightingale. I'm still not working out. I just glancing through the report, there was a lot about vehicles and different vehicles. I didn't see much about electric vehicle parking provision. Is that something that was built in, or will that be visited at a later stage for that connectivity?
Is this working?
Yeah.
Good. I think it was outside of the remit, as a simple answer. Otherwise we would have looked at that. We were mainly looking at the interconnectivity between road and rail and provision for bikes. But parking is one of the provisions we looked at. We just didn't look at the difference between electric and non-electric. Maybe it's something that we could consider at a later time, but that's the reason why.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? No. Okay. What we need to do now is approve the recommendations of the Transport Subcommittee. So I'm asking you to be a vote to approve recommendations in paragraphs 4 to 6, and agree to the request of Cabinet when receiving these recommendations as detailed in paragraph 7 or 9. Can we have a show of hands in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next agenda item, delegated decisions.
Just need to confirm there where the committee has agreed to the recommendations, just what the ask of Cabinet is. So are we asking them to approve and delegate? So it's just that clarification to make.
Well, I think the report is to approve, isn't it?
What were the recommendations? Let's have a look. Let's take recommendations.
Yeah, the request of the Cabinet in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that.
You said that?
I did mention that, but do you want to set the vote for that? Yeah.
Just to confirm what the ask is of Cabinet.
He already
This is
has.
the recommendation.
With respect, he already has. Just take what's in the report.
Yeah,
We've
that's
accepted those
between 7 and 9, yeah.
He doesn't need to say it again, he's already said it once.
Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, so what you're asking Cabinet to do.
What he already has.
No, can I
There's no need to clarify, it's
That's
already in the
fine.
report.
Yeah. So
It's in the report, and you can take what's written in the report, it's already written down and he said it.
Yeah, it's just accepting paragraph 8 basically, yeah. On that. Yeah, okay, thank you. We'll move on to delegate decisions. So in the report, is anyone speaking on any of them, Connor? No?
No, it's just for the committee.
Just to note the delegate decisions, anyone got any questions on them? Okay, thank you. And the work programme, again, I think this is the last meeting of the municipal year, so there'll be a new work programme obviously coming in the next municipal year. Any questions on that? Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hazeldine.
Just, I mean, I have no problem with the work programme, but I think we should have a session on the government's latest decision about value for money, and I think that should take precedent at this time. We need more openness and transparency on it, so that we, as the committee members, understand there's quite a vital role in there for this committee and for every other committee. And at the moment, you read it, don't believe it. It's like anything is possible. I'm still waiting for that since 2017. But I think that's probably one of the most important things that we need to get set up first within our work programme. And that will give us the ability to move on with the other stuff with that clearer understanding of expectations.
Except I think we're waiting for people to contact us on that, and sorry, Tom's got something to say on that.
Yeah, if it's okay, Jack, I can give a bit of context. So I think the committee got the letter last week. We received it on Thursday morning, so I can clarify where we're at with it and possibly go on to some next steps. So you'll be aware, if you've seen the letter, it's a non-statutory best value notice, which would be reviewed after 12 months. The letter makes it absolutely clear this is about us as TVCA leading our own improvement, and government noting there that we've already taken steps in terms of the response to the Tees Valley review, but it's about building on that progress, and we recognise we need to continue to make those improvements and demonstrate those to government. The letter makes it clear that the first task is we need to develop an improvement plan, so that'll build on what we've already done. And we need to seek member approval for that plan within 3 months. So we've got a cabinet meeting on the 28th of June, and we're currently working through what needs to happen between now and cabinet in terms of engagement with this committee, other committees, and all the officer engagement we'll need to do on that journey. There'll also be, if you've read the letter, an LGA-led independent improvement board that's there to provide support and challenge as we make those improvements. And government have made it clear in the letter that in effect they'll look to that board and our external auditor to provide updates and assurance to them that the necessary changes are being made at sufficient pace. So that's how it'll work. As you suspect, we got it on Thursday. We're already engaging very closely with the local government association, with government and with our external auditor. We've already set up a dedicated team within TVCA because this is obviously of the utmost importance and we need to put absolutely the right level of resource on it. So we've already started thinking through what those immediate next steps are. And as I said, our priority is to map out what we need to do between now and Cabinet on the 28th of June to get to a point where we can bring a report to Cabinet seeking approval for that improvement plan. And it goes without saying that we're absolutely committed to continuing the improvement journey we're already on and providing everyone who needs to see it the assurance that we're making those necessary improvements. So I'd suggest, Chair, that as we start to map that out, we can come back to the committee about where their involvement will be. What we're going to do is set out a 12-month engagement plan, so this committee and all the others can absolutely see what those touch points will be, and we absolutely want to be transparent in terms of both developing this plan and then monitoring and reporting on it as we progress.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tom. I'll just add to that.
I just want to comment through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Interesting what's being said, except sort of what's being said. The word that was missing was input. Now, it's all right engaging with everybody else, no mention of engaging with members, no mention of input from members, just approval. And it needs member input.
Yeah, I'll just come back to ourselves. I'm going to add to that. Is that obviously Middlesbrough Council has already gone through this process, and so I've got some experience of this. I suspect I'll be meeting with the improvement board hopefully shortly, as soon as it's been put together, and obviously that'll be my job, is to make sure that this committee's input is so all members of this committee will have input on that.
Yeah, if I can just come back to share. Absolutely, it's about input. So this morning I've been speaking to all of the chief executives about starting to set out what that input looks like from not only this committee, from Audit and Governance Committee, from Cabinet itself, from all the different officer groups. So absolutely it's about input, engagement, transparency, both to develop the plan and then ultimately to seek Cabinet approval for that plan, but then obviously we need to closely monitor it and be very transparent in terms of that performance reporting through all of our statutory committees.
Okay. Have we got any other questions on that? Yeah. Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the Cabinet approval at the end of June, are we then not somewhat eating 3 months into the 12-month period of the notice? And will that allow sufficient time to comply with that notice and the pace of the improvements necessary?
That's a good question. I think there's a balance between moving quickly and getting the plan right, and also the point that was just previously made, it's about making sure that everyone who needs to have input into that plan and be engaged in the development of that plan has the opportunity to do so. So whilst it might feel like it's some way off, there's actually quite a lot of work to both develop the plan but also make sure we've done the necessary engagement so that when Cabinet are presented with the report for approval, they've got confidence that the right conversations have happened with the right statutory committees, with the right officers, so that they feel as a Cabinet able to accept that plan as the right plan. So it's a good point, you know, we're absolutely moving at pace, but I think it's about doing it right at pace, and so we feel that Cabinet on the 28th of June gives us that window to do that properly.
Thank you, Tom.
It's also an opportunity for me to say that obviously the Mayor wasn't available today. I've made arrangements for me to have a meeting with the Mayor, and what I'll be present is agreeing a further meeting of this committee, possibly online, so we can ask questions, because the Mayor was supposed to be asking questions today, so hopefully that will happen soon. As soon as I've got some kind of dates, we'll let you know on that. Okay. Thank you. Anyone got anything else yet? Councillor Creamy?
Just in terms of that Mayor's question being online, how would that be facilitated for members of the public to be able to attend?
It's all part of this, you know, we will have something. It may not be online, it was just an idea that...
No, it's just a thought really that, you know, I think...
We'll have to look at the legalities of it being online and all sorts of things.
Yeah, so with it not being online, it won't be a statutory meeting, but we can look at how we publish the questions and answers. We can take minutes, word for word, as you've just given, and publish those as they were asked and given in terms of questions. However the committee would like to deal with it, and there is open to.
Okay. Just can I come back? Sure. Just in terms of improvements, I know that before when I first joined this committee, we undertook some training with other committee members. I do think that it would be useful for future, particularly for newer members of the committee, to undertake some LGA training on overview and scrutiny specific, and I just wonder whether that should be part of that plan, because I think one of the issues that I think we've all struggled with is the differences between the combined authority and our own authorities and our responsibilities there. So I think it would maybe make sense to get the LGA in to deliver some training on scrutiny, particularly with combined authorities, and maybe get them here to deliver it rather than doing, you know, us going elsewhere to do it or something like that, really.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. We've already been thinking about almost training and development for members and officers, because one of the themes in the letter is around culture, and I think that is around, as you say, it's about supporting members to do their role, but also making sure officers both within the combined authority and the local authorities are supported as well. So I think within the plan there's likely to be quite a big emphasis on training and development of members and officers.
Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think on that point, actually, what would be very useful is to have a clear analysis of the relationship between the TVCA and all the other component parts that we're supposed to be monitoring. I'm talking about Tees works, I'm talking about the Cabinet, all of this kind of thing, because there always was uncertainty over the extent to which we had scrutiny over different areas.
I'll come back
to outline that.
The government's sent more guidance on that, and Connor's currently going through it, and I think Emma's planning to write to all committee members on with the new guidance, so that's all in hand.
That's lovely. Thanks very much, Tim.
Just on the training again, Chair, I think there should be a session within the training for members on finance, because as local councillors we understand, well I understand it, and I imagine most councillors understand their own authority's finance and the line by line way it's done. Tees Valley Combined Authority finance is totally different and more difficult to comprehend and understand. So I think there needs to be an understanding of the difference between the two, and then members will understand better the TVA's way of working.
No, I'm sure Tom and Emma have took note of that. Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah, sorry.
When is the date and time of the next meeting, please?
That's next on the agenda. Obviously, date and time of next meeting, there'll be a schedule for the 25-26 municipal year, and it's be established following the TVCA AGM. So that obviously, yeah, it'll be in July. No, sorry, it'll be in June.
June.
Yeah, it'll be in June sometime. Yeah.
What we'll be able to give you relatively soon is kind of the months we're looking at for meetings, but once we know who's on the committee we won't be able to get, until we know who's on the committee we won't know the availability of everybody. But what we are doing at the moment is mapping out all the committees and boards and make sure they're all in the right order to feed into each other. So we'll be able to give you an overview of committees and cabinet and all the development corporations, and then once we've got the members we'll be able to look at dates.
Councillor Creevy.
Sorry.
Right.
I know we've talked about increasing the number of meetings that we have during the year. Is that going to happen from next year, or is that going to happen as part of this review process?
There's no plans currently to increase the meeting of this committee, but that might well change.
We've gone from 4 to 6.
Yeah.
With the mayor's question.
Right. Okay.
Whether or not we could utilise some of that mayor's question time meeting, I can't remember how long it's for, if it needs 3 hours, or if you want to extend that and do some committee business as well.
I'm just conscious that if we need to make people aware that what the commitment is if we've got people that are wanting to.
So there are presently 6 meetings,
so 6
and
meetings,
that's been increased from 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Well, so there's no other business. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.